You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 288 of Eastern Coast's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell here, joined by executive video audio producer engineer Zach Burcham, and my forever co-host, Mr. Dakota Davis, is back in his rightful place. Dakota, you have planned a hell of a show for us today. What are we doing?
Today's episode is the return of Mr. John Sproles, and he brought his entire leadership team with us. Also, it's the return of Matt Pierce. You've been on the show before. This is the triumphant return. It's been a while. The last time you were on this show, I think we were still in my spare bedroom. But we're going to be talking to these folks. We're about... we'll just say John Sproles gave a State of the Sheriff's Department address to the commissioners, and we're going to be going through some of the points that he made in that meeting, trying to break it down a little bit. He was constrained by a 30-minute time allotment on that meeting, and so we're going to give him double the time. And then we're going to be talking about...
I don't have to be anywhere till like noon tomorrow. I'm good.
Okay. And then we're also going to be talking about the structure of the Sheriff's Department and what the whole leadership structure looks like, learning a little bit more about the Henry County Sheriff's Department. And then also at the very end of the show, we're going to be talking about the Merit Board and what's special about that. So make sure you stick around till the end if you want to hear that.
So this show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. Dakota, we learned about your penchant to not visit a doctor in Patreon. Do you need the patrons to call you out? What do you want to do?
This podcast has just awful health insurance. Provides the absolute worst. Our employers here, we need to have a discussion with HR, which I think we elected Zach as that position.
Zach is the union committee.
Part of his duties. Patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty, or you can go to bosshogofliberty.com and click support now. That is where you can go to support the show on a monthly basis monetarily. And, we give all kinds of different extras for that. You get a 20-minute bonus episode with our guests every single week where we talk about a little bit more of our personal lives, our personal side of things. It's a little bit more of a lighthearted episode. And then you also get access to a Facebook group and show notes ahead of time. And then if you donate at $50 or more a month, then those folks are mentioned at the front of the show. And they are Miss Christy Avery from all the way in Fort Wayne, Mr. Jonathan Phillips, and also Mr. Anthony Meyer.
I will say Christy is collecting interesting items for the LP silent auction.
I saw that from...
And I have somehow gotten myself wrapped into picking up a vintage collection of 1990 Playboy magazines. From 1990 that got donated to Rex Bell, and he didn't sell them like 10 years ago at a yard sale because he tried to keep it family friendly.
They weren't that vintage back then.
And they weren't. And former President Trump is on the cover of one of these, of one of these, with some young lady who's old enough to be my grandma now. And I, in a smart ass way, I said, "Hey, Christy, this would be great for the silent auction," because she's always asking for silent auction items. Next thing you know, I'm now responsible for picking up a tote of 35-year magazines that are as old as my wife and getting them to Christy. So
if anybody from the Sheriff's Department,
if anybody wants,
over while you're carrying those, it's gonna be
listen,
a little embarrassing.
First of all, I think they have significant value, and second of all, the First Amendment. But the I think they'll be very popular at the silent auction. So I'm kind of excited now. So anyway, that's the Christy story.
My favorite thing is the jokes and the mocking that can come into play if somebody acts too excited about it. Like, oh, Yeah, this is all you can get, right? And yeah.
I have a
That'd be
question.
good.
Yes.
Will you just be reading the articles, or will you?
Well, it's kind of a moral dilemma because I think they're all
Moral
wrapped.
dilemma.
Yes, a moral dilemma. They are wrapped in like plastic, the entire thing. So if you open it, I think you violated the spirit of the silent auction.
And someone's gonna know you.
And somebody's going to know unless I gain access to like a bunch of Visqueen or something to rewrap them all. But that sounds like a lot. That's very complicated.
Sounds like
Make
a
it
lot
happen.
of trouble.
Yeah. And then at some point you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to pay for the damn things myself and buy it. And they never make it. And you end up spending $1,000 on old magazines that you never even wanted anyway. I don't know.
For a good cause.
An eBayer that I know might know what an entire 1990 mint
They could probably
edition
sell 'em for you.
set would be worth.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that on eBay. I don't know if they have anything against nudity or anything.
They're sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it to the.
I mean, they did strike down an auction of used panties this week of some
Jesus.
celebrity. That was
where the
the thing
show's
that
going.
made news. That was
How do you know?
95,000 or
What?
Hey,
it got to some.
It was like $93,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I can't remember. Her name was Lotto or something like that, and she did it because some guy gave her a hard time about wearing the same underwear twice because I don't know, she's a rapper or something, and she's like, fine, I'll just start selling them. And she was she had a pair that were bid up to $93,000.
Remember when we were worried this was going to go off the rails? I'm no longer concerned.
I want to know.
I am no longer
When did you
concerned.
guys stop bidding, man?
Before we started, John said, "What happens if this show gets too far off the rails?"
They were game used.
Yeah. There we go.
So, John, let's just start with introductions here to make sure that everybody understands who's here and what. You won the election. You were here with us in November, right? Well, I guess October. Best memory I have. And you took office as county sheriff in, I guess, 1st of January.
Yes,
so you've
correct.
just completed a month on the job. And that afforded you the opportunity to appoint your leadership team to the department. So tell us who's sitting with us today, and then we'll start to get into what you've discovered now as you've become sheriff.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me back. To my right is my chief deputy. He's actually the only appointment on the road division side. So he's the chief deputy, which is also the major. We call him major. That's the rank structure. And across the table from me is Captain Nate Kovacs. Actually, let me clarify something. It's actually Ian is his name. Everybody calls him Nate, but that's Captain Ian. Am I right, Captain? And
You're correct.
Yes. He's the road division captain. So he is the head of all of the road officers. To his left is Captain Matt Pierce, the detective captain. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is us, and a great team. I inherited these guys, but I'll tell you this: I would have, if I didn't inherit them, they would be sitting right there, just like that, had I had to appoint them.
Very good. All right. So tell us what happens when you, and I'm going off the fly here, when you have a change in administration. How does that work? One sheriff retires, the next one picks up, and there are multiple divisions that you're responsible for. The most visible is the road division, but you also have a jail, you have reserves, you have some administrative responsibilities as well.
Correct.
How does that handoff work?
Well, how should it work, or how did it work, or which answer do you want? Our handoff was just I came in at January 1st. There was no transition whatsoever. There was really not even conversation. There were no meetings. So I just came in January 1 with my new team, and the first thing we did was start rearranging furniture, office furniture, trying to just get it more user friendly. And it was interesting. It's been very interesting. It was. I figured it would be a lot, but it's been a whole lot, and it's been good. There's just been some shocking realities that have brought some complexity to it. But I'm excited. I'm loving every minute of it. It has been busier than I thought it would be. but we have a great team, so we're enjoying it. But we've got some things that we need to get done and get squared away, and it'll take a little bit of time.
So what's the top of the list?
Top of the list on things that we need to get done. Well, we need to get a handle on the finances. That was the biggest shocker. Again, like I said, there was no meetings at all. In fact, just be very transparent here. I believe there was a push to, don't let him in here, so to speak. Now, I mean, I could walk in there and ask him a question, but there was no proactive, hey, come in here, sit down, let's talk about where we're at. So about 2 weeks out, I was in new sheriff school. It might have been 3 weeks before the first. I was in new sheriff school at Muncie with chief deputy and our new office staff and the matron and assistant matron. And so I made a call to the then, let's just say, administrative staff. And I said, hey, I need to know where we're at financially. I need some kind of a report that shows all of the bills that are due. I need to know what I'm coming into here. I need to get prepared. And I'll say that this shocked me. This is so shocking. So I was told, what do you mean by bills that are due? The bills that are due and past due, and how, and
I assume you're used to looking at things like you would in business, where you've got your accounts receivable, accounts payable.
Exactly. So those were the words that I used. I said, I need an AP report and an AP aging report. And the specific response was, I have no idea what an AP aging report is, because we don't have such a thing. Because they said, what is that? I said, it shows your accounts payable, current, 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 and 120 past. And, very used to looking at those. Unfortunately, I've looked at my own that I was having to look at the 60 and 90 days past due numbers. But I was told, well, we don't have that because we pay our bills when we get them. And I said, you're telling me that all the bills are paid up for the sheriff's department? And the answer was yes. I mean, you might have a bill from the kitchen or something that, they bill in December, and you'll have to pay that out of your budget. And there was one other item, paying out some comp time on an employee that was leaving. You'll have to take that out of your budget, but everything else is paid. And I said, I know better than that. I've worked around here long enough to know better than that. So, but I was assured everything's paid. I thought, well, this is great. So as soon as I hung up, I just dialed up one of our uniform stores. And I said, hey, can you check our account? Yeah, you got invoices from June, July, August, September still due. So far, I've got a report here. So far, we have paid $122,000 of bills that were due starting in January of 2022. So this is what we've been working through, trying to figure out where in the world we're at. A lot of these invoices, they didn't even exist. We were finding out by people calling, hey, when are we going to get paid? Well, we don't have we have no record of an invoice here. So that has been the biggest struggle. And we are still, this number just keeps climbing because we keep finding invoices that haven't been paid. We had a car that we bought you guys would know, was that August? So in that time range. And we hadn't even paid for it.
What dealership was that? Because I want to work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oop, Zach, we got to.
Nope, sorry.
I was just saying they were not real happy.
Yeah, I bet.
They're paid now. But that puts us in a huge bind because all of this for now has had to come out of my budget. And there's a lot of things to talk about on that, and we'll touch them as we move through.
Gotcha. Okay. So whenever you were at the commissioners meeting, you were talking about some different things that you found whenever you came into office. So I kind of wanted to know, when your first day in office and you start learning some new things about the department, what was kind of the most shocking thing like that you stepped into, or was there anything that was surprising to you? Well, I know you had a good idea, like when you were running, but
again, the finances were shocking because I was just told that everything's paid up, and I knew better than that. but not to the tune of, well, I'll tell you, I have 61 invoices right here, 61 that were unpaid as far back as January. Again, that's so far. That was the most shocking thing. I'll tell you another interesting thing about this. There was a lot of talk during the campaign about police experience. And I actually just kind of thought about this for the first time today. Not one thing that I have serious issue that I've had to deal with so far has anything to do with police experience. It has to do with business. And so that was the biggest shocking thing. I'll tell you the other thing that hit me harder than I thought, and maybe I didn't even think about this, but a weight that settled down on me. I believe it might have been January 2nd. I was in the jail. I stopped in late in the night just to check on the jail staff, and there was an inmate in a holding cell just screaming for help, and she wasn't in any trouble at all. I said, "Hey, let me talk to her." So I talked to her for a little bit, and she was just having a lot of struggles. And I remember walking out, and when I walked out the door, a weight settled down on me that there are 225 inmates back there in your custody. Are they being taken care of? And that has been the heaviest thing that has settled down on me, really, is the care of those inmates. I care about them. I want them to eat good food. I want them to be treated respectfully. And so as far as a burden, I felt that heavier than anything else.
I think that's a sentiment we've heard from other elected officials, is like they're really excited when they get elected, and then all of a sudden their first few meetings or votes, they're like, oh, there's a lot of people that I'm responsible for. So, yeah, I mean, I think that seems natural. It seems like a good feeling to have for someone in a leadership position like that.
Yeah, no, I've like I said, I love every bit of it, and I just know I'm right where the Lord wants me to be, and I love that. But caring for the people, that is a heavy weight. And then caring for our employees. He was talking about the different the different types of employees. So we have 28 road deputies. We have 30 some, like 35 jail staff. We have about 75 full-time paid employees. It's between 75 and 28, or 78, I'm sorry. I sound like Joe Biden. My wife and kids are laughing now. They're like, he does sound like Joe Biden. But we have with the...
We can go out for ice cream later.
That's right. And not get a brain freeze. So we have about 115 total with the reserves, with 25 reserves. So that's a lot of people to care for.
So the number you mentioned to me that's shocking, and I know some of you go, I can't remember a time where Henry County had more than 200 folks in the county detention facility or the jail at one time. You said 265? We have today 226.
Okay. Yes, 226, and our capacity is, this is important right here, 246 is the capacity, okay?
What was our capacity across the street here when we were downtown?
Oh, help us, the actual capacity.
Like 130, I think.
Yeah. 130. Yeah. So somehow we've picked, in a year, right, that facility's been open a year, and we've picked up an extra 100 head count than where we were, so... Y'all get better at your jobs. How did we pick up that much that fast?
It's not that we picked up that much that fast. We were holding off, and there was a real push for things to kind of get moved through the system slowly on the prosecutors' end. Not on their fault, but they're being told we have nowhere to house them, and it was causing the amount of money we were spending to house out of county. So once this opened, it allowed us some of that to push forward. So that logjam kind of freed up. So it put us in this spot where if we keep going, we're out of room.
So arrests that maybe were backburnered or not ready to happen is essentially what has led to your increased headcount right now?
So two ways arrests happen. One would be custodial on the street, domestic battery, DUI, warrants, things like that. And the other things are come to like my division or their division where we file with the prosecutor's office for review before it's taken to the court for a warrant to be issued and served. Some of that stuff was just... especially lower stuff was just moved slowly, unfortunately, because there was no capacity.
So you look at it like it's a wave, right? And you've gotten to a point where the wave has crested, but then you've got to think that you still only got 50,000 people in the
wave
community,
hasn't
right?
crested.
Or you are cresting.
We
I don't
just
know
had a
about that
meeting with
either.
the prosecutor's office, and there is still.
But there's gonna be some smoothing, is what I'm saying. I guess what I'm looking at 6 months, a year down the road, at some point, or are you telling us, hey, no, we really need to plan on preparing for 300 or 400 people being in jail?
My understanding of it was that we had farmed out many of these people to other counties to hold, because the fear was once we had the new facility built and we brought those people back, we would be at that capacity that was set by the federal courts, that 80% number, pretty much immediately as soon as we brought them and stopped paying the other counties to hold them.
Okay.
So it was kind of
So really, we had, just because we were maxed out over here, but we probably were not talking about that number that we had at all of these other locations. So
That were in the Henry County system.
So we haven't gone from 130 to 220. It has gradually built. We just haven't thought about it much or talked about it because and we didn't want to talk about it because if the community said, how much are we paying for them? It had a heart attack. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands a year to house them at other locations.
Right. But if county council thought 200 people, and then you get here and it's, hey, yeah, we need to expand right now. Like as a citizen, you're looking at it going, oh my God.
Oh, yes.
Like,
So
we spent $20 million on a facility that's been open a year, and we're like, yeah, it already needs to change.
Yeah, and I said that in the commissioner meeting. We need to be working right now on the addition. So apparently, to my understanding, we cut off. We was going to build another pod, and I think they eliminated that to save $6 million or so. That's my general understanding of it. We have had that rebid out recently, and it's almost $12 million now for the same thing. So that was a difficult move there. We need this expansion to be happening now. There are still warrants stacking up, and some high end ones that we need to be serving, and we are. So one thing I was going to say about this 246 capacity, 28 people are that. There is one section that holds 28. It's for kind of like a rehabilitation type of program. We only have 14 people in there as of today. So 14, when you look at the 226, the capacity right now is not 246, it's 232 because we've only got 14 back there. We can't put anybody else back in there. So 232 is technically all that we can have elsewhere, and we have 226. So we're completely full.
okay.
is where
So
we're
we're
at.
yeah.
So,
full.
so let's talk about the makeup and I guess the timeline as to how this works, because many of us are on this side of the criminal justice system and don't have a full understanding of it. You have folks that are either pretrial or post-trial. Are we talking half of the folks that are there are awaiting trial and they're there for that reason, or are we talking about folks that are serving a sentence but they have to serve it in Henry County?
I can look back real quick, but to my knowledge, we had it's in the 170s today that have not been sentenced. So out of our total, here it is, 174 are not sentenced.
Convicted but not sentenced, or awaiting trial?
They're not. They're awaiting trial. They've not been sentenced. They're waiting. They're there without bond. They can't bond out, and so they're awaiting sentencing. We only have 25 inmates. This is interesting. Out of that whole number, only 25 inmates that are there because they're sentenced there.
Right. And that's where I'm like, do you need? This is me being skeptical and not being difficult, but do we need a new jail, or do we need the prosecutor's office and the courts to move people through? Because that's the wave I'm talking about.
Well, we've had that. I've sat down with the judges and had this discussion. How can we thin this down? And they said there's no way. I mean, they have to be sentenced. They're backlog. They've got 100. Think about it. They've got 174 people that need sentenced. That's
and we've talked about it on here that you've got was it as of last November 5 murder or violent crimes, the trials to complete in the county?
I think we've got a couple murder. I don't know, Matt, you would know.
Sorry, I'm taking a second. There are a couple backed up in there, and those take typically a long time. The quickest I've seen one get through is just a hair under a year.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, the vast majority of those, we've looked through those. We're not holding people for, a public intox or a DUI. They're either FTAs where they don't want to show up to court.
Failure to appear, right?
Yes. Or it's a more serious offense.
Yeah. It's from this side for me, and Zach and Dakota, you guys are both civilians like I am, just the comprehension of how long it takes to go through the system, I guess, is what the standard person doesn't have a recollection of or an understanding of. That it's not, we're going to get, you're arrested, but you're going to sit there for a week or 2 or 3 and you want to get a trial over with. It's that you're essentially in a gigantic queue.
Right.
Yeah, and most of these people, like he said, they've not shown up for court, so they put a no bond warrant. So when you go to jail, you're staying there until you go see the judge. So people like we have been. This is one change, and this may be a good place to talk about it. We have been taking people to jail who are arrested for driving while suspended prior. This is something new. We had just been citing them, and what was happening, it was clogging up the courts because we would cite them into court. They wouldn't show up to court. So then they would get an FTA warrant. So there was all kinds of process going on. So the judge said, just take them to jail, take them straight to jail. And that way, a lot of them will just go from jail to the court. Some of them they'll bond out, but they have to get a little more serious about taking care of the issues. So, but those people just cycle through. They're in for one night or they're in for 1 hour and bond out. But it's a way to try to alleviate the paperwork on the court side of it.
But you've got at least 100 people that are not eligible for bonding.
Yeah. Well. I would have to look up that exact total, but
or dozens, I guess, right? A significant number.
A majority of people that come in have a bond minus an FTA or something outstanding, probation violation, parole violation, where they have something active that they've already violated, but one, they can't afford it, or two, for some reason nobody will come forward and bond them out, so they're just in the system waiting.
All right. Dakota, you're in charge. You wrote the notes, so I'm wandering wildly.
Yeah, I'm trying to look through the notes to see what we've covered and what we haven't so far. John, this is something that you brought up in the campaign quite a lot, and that was one of your priorities was funding for 2 more full-time deputies in the sheriff's department.
Correct.
Is that still top priority for you?
Absolutely. We need 2 full-time. 2 more because Matt he's 1 detective short. Real honestly, you're practically 2 detectives short. So we have to have 2 more. However, if we can pick up 2 more, that would put us at 30 road division. I think I'm comfortable to say that we would be in good shape. We did bring so I had talked about the PACE team. We did bring that. We eliminated the PACE team program, so that position is now working the road, covering county calls, which is a good thing.
You just took my next question, man.
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask you about that.
No, we took care of that right off the bat, and so that helped us manpower wise covering the county. So, but we still need 2 more, and I think the council is going to work with us. I'll tell you what I am, what I sense. From the council and the commissioners. I think, let me say this. My big scope view right now, and I'll hone it in more, and I can update you later on it. But here is my big picture of where we're at the sheriff's department financially. And this is no fault of commissioners, no fault of council. We have been, let me take the jail staff, for example. When we came in January 1st, we had 9 full-time open positions for jail staff, 9. we had pretty much averaged that open staff all the way through the year 2022. And this is so unbelievable. That's a lot of money. That is funded positions. Okay. So just use easy numbers. 9 times 40,000.
Yep.
360,000. Okay. At the end of the year, and again, we're still just trying to figure out what we're having a real hard time figuring out is where did the money go?
How did that get transferred?
Where did it go? Yeah. Because I do know this, we didn't turn money back over to the commissioners or to the county. And there may have been several small funds with a little bit of money that would revert back. But where did all this money go? So my big general feel as I look at this, we have been not hiring for positions, using that money as slush fund money. And I know there is a process. You can't just grab payroll money and buy a car with it. There is a process there, but we have been short funded as far as our expenses, our costs, our operating costs, short funded possibly by several $100,000. And again, not the fault of the council because they don't know we need it unless we say, hey, we need this line item. So we've been using money from, and we have filled all of those full-time positions. Well, there's not going to be any slush fund money there now because we're paying it to employees, which we should have been doing all along. Part of our federal lawsuit had to do with being understaffed. So they said, okay, well, you're going to have this much more staff. Yeah, in pay slots, we've left them open.
The head count
to use that
never
money. The head count never changed.
So you're talking about in your remarks to the commissioners, you talked about a need on the vehicle front as well.
Yes.
So you've got, as an example, 30 road deputies. So I assume that means you need at least 30 vehicles.
I'd say you need 35. I mean, for what we call pull cars or spare cars.
Right. Because your reserves also have cars.
They're correct. And that wouldn't even be counting their cars. Yes.
So as the department, you're responsible for 40, 45 cars that are in an inventory.
Correct. We've got probably 50. I think we have about 55 cars in inventory. I'd say 15 of them need smashed. And seriously, it's you guys are laughing, but because it's true.
No, because one caught on fire the other day.
Oh yeah.
On a call.
Oh yeah. So we're driving
On a call?
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's an insurance claim.
So our guy said he had
mission accomplished.
I'll let Nate tell you.
Yes. Hey, tell us about it. Fire dripping down on his legs while he's driving the car.
It was stopped. They went out to their car and he noticed a dripping fire from the dashboard area. He jumped to attention, got his fire extinguisher, put it out, but it was all up underneath the dash, some type of an electrical wiring fire. So it's down for the time being until we figure out what the fix is.
We have cars, Nate, keep the mic because you're the one that takes care of the cars. And we have cars that have, 200, one of them has like 250,000 miles on it.
We've got a couple that have about 250,000 miles apiece.
A couple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Jeez.
And
go ahead.
They're still running. They don't go very fast or get you anywhere very fast, but they're cars that are still used from time to time throughout the day to help get us over the hurdle sometimes.
So 55 cars in inventory, maybe 35 that you need as top line production vehicles. If you're trying to replace 35 cars, if you did 5 a year, that's once every 7 years on a car. Does that interval even work for you? Do you need 6 a year?
Well, we're doing 4 years. So
yeah.
You do the math. Does it work? No, it don't. I brought this up in the campaign, during the campaign at a council meeting, and I caught a little flack on it, not from the council, but I made the point. We have not felt the brunt of being short on vehicles because we're short staffed. So we're like, oh, we're fine. Well, yeah, we're fine because we're short staffed. And right now, what we have done, we just put 3 new deputies on the road, last week, and we're filling the staff. Now we're filling the pain because we don't have vehicles. I don't know that we have today. We don't have vehicles. Do we have vehicles to cover all of our staff? And thankfully, the new guys are just going into training, so they're not going to be on the road for a little bit.
So we're moving people around within the department. So when one guy Monday we'll go somewhere, that car will become available. And then in a month or two, when we move somebody else, I'll have that car available for a road position. But we're still going to be stuck with some 2016s that are going to be regular duty cars that are in that 150,000 mile range.
They're in bad shape.
Yeah.
They're in bad shape.
They're at 100,000 miles, a police car starts to really pick up its wear. You can tell it's been used. And like he was saying, we've got that 15 cars that are just ready to go. And when we get rid of them, they're done. They're not something you're going to take out and drive the family around.
You guys like
in.
Auction those off, or what happens?
That's what they're getting prepared to do.
Okay.
And that's something that the commissioners take care of. I want to talk.
Do you get that money though?
That would go back to the county.
Oh, okay.
Let me talk about something important real quick. Hold that thought, because I'll forget this because I'm getting old. Liability. This is something that I talked about in both of the commissioner and the council meeting recently. And vehicle liability is huge. At New Sheriff School, they gave us an instance of a county not wanting to spend, I don't know, it's $400 or $500 to fix a strut or something on a police car at a county in Indiana. And they put it off. One of the deputies, and I believe it was off duty, but the car malfunctioned, ended up killing his wife, and I think they paid out a $5 or $6 million lawsuit. And I have brought this up before, and I'll stay on it here. We sometimes strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. We'll look at, you can get another 1,000 miles wear out of that tire. And, I have driven a reserve car when I was a reserve that had metal coming out of it, because those tires are $125. Yeah, a lawsuit's going to be $5 million plus when that sucker blows and somebody gets killed. So, liability is a big issue to me. And that spreads out on so many different levels. We talked about the special deputy badges and all of that. We have been just running wide open, seemingly with no grasp on where our liability's at. Our liability is shocking. Our people would have a heart attack if I told them the stories of what these people are using our badges to work $50 an hour security jobs. They didn't do anything for the county. They're going over to Indy making more money than our full-time deputies, which that burns my hide. And so that's why we called all that in. Believe me, I've taken some hot phone calls and had a guy drop his badge off today, come in, hand me the badge. Nice guy. He's like, my law enforcement days are done. And I said, I appreciate it, and put his badge up. And super nice guy. However, I did tell him, I said, I did get a video of you trying to use your badge to get out of a ticket, and didn't appreciate that. So we've got liabilities all over the place. Back to cars. My car, I looked at my plates on my car, and they'd been expired for 3 years. It showed 3 years. I thought that can't be right. So I run my plate, and my plate has been expired for 3 years. So it's like and we're pulling people over and towing their car. Oh, you're expired 6 months, sir. Start me a wrecker. Here we're driving around. We haven't had a good handle on what's been going on, but we're getting a handle on it. So Matt, you.
I was just going to comment. The good thing about no cars for the road is I get detectives. Nate fights me tooth and nail to not want to give me somebody when I'm shorthanded, but when it comes to he has a new guy, needs a car, the detective division has extra cars right now, so I got the upper hand.
Yeah, if he can move a road guy with a marked car over to the detective side, then he's got that marked car to hand to another guy.
So you did have old car, because you had a number of retirements, right? At the end of 2022, there were some retirements. So some of those vehicles, I assume we don't give them the cars and the guns, right? We keep the cars.
That's correct. Yes.
Maybe better go that route. Give them the car. Keep the gun.
The gun is worth more than the car.
Probably. We should have done that on a couple, probably.
So Nate, are you moving a lot of different road deputies between vehicles, or is that something like only reserves are getting moved around, only new guys?
So the guys that are in cars right now, those are typically their cars, unless something happens to their car, a motor blows transmission, dash catches on fire. it's that getting, like the sheriff was saying, we've been short. So we've had short cars, but we've not had a problem because we've been short people. But now with the 3 new guys coming in, what we have 2 empty detective vehicles at this point, just one. And then, so I've got 3 guys that will need cars, and I look out there right now. So I'll get, like I said, 1 Durango whenever he moves to the detective side, and then another Durango when another guy moves to the detective side. And then I'm kind of grasping at straws to get that next vehicle. We ordered new cars in the fall last year, so we'll get some replacements, but then they're replacing obviously a 2016 Tahoe that's 150,000-ish and a Charger that's probably got 170. So it's not like those cars will be great cars for anybody to go in. They'd be fine pool cars to use part-time, but they're just going to be long-term, I want to say, financial burdens because there's going to be continued problems from them.
The maintenance cost is big for them if you're using
and
it.
As a captain over the road deputies, you're all of a sudden that's your responsibility to shift people in different cars.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep the road side of it covered as best I can,
right,
and keep them out working and not having to deal with tow trucks to tow their cars to wherever we're getting them fixed.
But if we had enough vehicles, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
And we have to get there. So and he said we ordered 4 new cars. We ordered 4 new cars last year that will come in here hopefully in 3 months or so. However, that was over budget. We had to spend a little bit more money that was budgeted, and then we had to pay for the other car they didn't pay for the last time. So that came out of this budget. So I only have the money to pay for 3 of those coming in. And we need like 2 more new cars right now. One of our deputies totaled their car a month or so ago. So also that's gone. That was a good car gone.
Are these things not insured?
They are.
I assume you have insurance replacement,
yes.
Right?
Well, not replacement. So I'm guessing we'll probably get just my guess, $15,000 out of that.
I would estimate it probably be just under half of what a new car would cost is what we'll get out of the.
Right. And
insurance.
They're running those Durangos V8 all-wheel drive. They're running about 38.5, and then you've got to upfit them. Mm-hmm. Here's another issue. We have no line item for this. It costs a brand new car radio, $7,000, right? Just for a radio. 6 to 7,000. You've got another, $7,000 in lighting. Really, we need about $15,000 per car just to get it what we call upfitted. There's no line item for that, and they just pull money from here, there, and everywhere. These things need to be line item out. We do this every year, all the time. We need line items for it. So again, no fault of council or commissioners. They just haven't known, and some of them have told me, look, we want to fund you, but we also want to know where the money's going.
When you have your first budget conversation as sheriff, it's going to be a significant work session.
It is.
Is your anticipation?
Yes.
Explain the specialty deputy program a little bit more for the audience to understand what was happening there and what the policy change is.
Okay, so a special deputy, this is very odd and probably goofy if you want to say that the sheriff can actually deputize a person and give them full police powers.
Without going through the academy or anything.
I was really hoping that after 2 more times, 5 times on the show,
That's right.
Get some.
Well, I think it's actually used to maybe only one time on the show would get that for you, but
you should have asked before the program.
Exactly. So what we had is people who I can say, hey, here's your special deputy badge. It's a badge just like ours. It'll say special deputy on the ID card, but that gives them full police powers, the same police powers as any other police officer around here, and it can be 24/7. So then they can go to wherever and get a security job that again pays a lot of money, more than our guys make full time. Because
there are private security jobs that require somebody to be a deputy somewhere in the state of Indiana.
Yes, we can. This is a big web. That's probably a good way to say it. This is a really big web. So I called I contacted the administration early last year and asked them to produce a list of all the special deputies. And they were unable to produce one. They didn't have one. So I said, well, I guess we can make you something up. And at that point, I said, don't worry about it. I just want to see if we had one. So, but before taking office here, I did tell them I need a list of all the special deputies. And so they put one together as best they can. And Josh, you've seen the list. I don't know. Was it 40, 45?
Yes.
Somewhere in that range. And I took a quick glance of the list. I'm thinking, well, I know this person, this person, this person, and this person that have special deputy badges. They're not even on the list. So that list only told me that we have no idea who all has special deputy badges. So I made it kind of plain in campaigning. We're cutting that off because it's a liability. If they're doing their security job, they're wearing our badge, Henry County Sheriff's Department. They have clothes with our patch on it. If they get in a fight or a shooting, guess who's getting sued? We are. And the taxpayers are going to end up eating those losses.
What kind of, are we talking about like these folks doing stadium security or funeral escorts, like construction,
you name it,
running lights at construction sites? What are we doing?
Yeah. All of it.
It's a majority of off-duty security at construction sites, sporting events, school events, and things like that. And the majority of it's in Marion County or the surrounding donut counties around Marion County. Because I've had people send me pictures of somebody wearing one of our badges and say, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. Never seen him before." But he's working a sporting event in Indianapolis.
And what do they usually get paid? Some of those they can range in 50, 55 an hour, can't they?
I think the minimum right now is 40 and then up to 60. So somewhere in that neighborhood, depending on what you're doing. And the majority, it comes down to the key word is having arrest powers. Not that they're going to make an arrest in Marion County, because that would just be a nightmare in of itself to deal with their process. But you have the ability to make the arrest. So now we'll hire you to be security.
And so they're making $80,000 full time. Think about what our officers feel like. We're down here working it and making last year $43,700. And we got some cat up in Indy making $80,000 that don't know jack squat about law enforcement, but has a badge that matches ours. I don't like it for our officers' sake, and I don't like it for our liability's sake.
Well, the other thing, as I come up, I started Newcastle PD in, 99. I think I was making in the mid 20s, something like that. So I supported my family off part-time jobs because I couldn't make enough money doing police work. So then that puts those people out there to compete with people that are been to the academy, that have the training, that have the experience. So if something does come up, that's really going to be the person you want there.
Because in your history, you've done town marshal work, you've done code enforcement, those sorts of
I've also worked
jobs.
I spent my summers working for E&B paving on construction sites. I know we've talked about it because you like to sell them rebar. And
they are very good customers.
Yeah,
Love
so
them. They pay way faster than Henry County does as far as their invoices go.
But we're putting those people out to compete against ourselves, so our deputies can make a living to have those extra things that they may want.
That's one of my biggest gripes right there is that market is flooded. And I love it when you guys get to go do those 55 an hour E&B paving jobs because it's nice for them to go grab a check. We're doing that now for funeral escorts. This could have been worked out ages ago. Yeah. So we used to run funeral escorts for free. It tied up our officers. We were running them all the time. I got all the funeral home owners together and they said, "Hey, cool. We'll pay the officers direct." So we set up a pool of officers who wanted to do that. So they will get a call from the funeral home. They'll know they're on call for that funeral tomorrow. They'll get a call a 20-minute advance soon as the service is out. They know they've got to get there within 20 minutes. They'll go down there. Funeral home guys will walk out, hand them a $75 check. They'll escort them down a lot of times to South Mound and drive off. It's a great way. I'm thrilled about that because it's a great way for our full-time guys off duty to pick up some extra cash. So I want to lessen the market of all these special deputies. I want our guys who put the time in to have the availability to go grab those jobs and make extra money.
I didn't realize that the special deputy program was even still a thing. I thought it was just old time, out west. I
bet if you look back, that's what it started for the sheriff to get a posse to go out to Moreland and capture the bad guy when there was one or two deputies available.
With the bounty hunters, yeah.
Can I tell you one guy that called me and said, John, I've got to have that special deputy badge because I work full-time security. And he said, that's my only check. That's my only check other than my disability check. And I said, well, I asked that guy, I said, what do you do for the county? And he legit said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know how else to ask it. What do you do for the county? He said, I don't work for the county. I work security. I said, I get that. I'm asking, what do you do for Henry County?
What's the reciprocal arrangement here?
There's zero. And I said, what kind of training are you staying up on? Well, we hadn't been required to do any training. I said, when's the last time you qualified with your gun? He said, I think I qualified a couple of years ago. So that's what we have, that if all, what breaks loose, they end up shooting somebody, we're cooked.
And the big difference is we have reserve deputies that have training to have the state requirements just like we do, that go through pre-basic. They don't take the step to go through the academy because most of them are citizens that live in this county and work full time and want to volunteer their time. So there's other avenues outside of special deputy to, work for us or get the ability to do those things. But they want the easy way, which is just here you go, no strings attached.
All right, one other thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to our next question is the last time Matt Pierce was on the show, we were trying to fundraise for the City of Newcastle Canine Department. So wanted to ask you, you said that we needed 3 more canines for the Sheriff's Department, correct?
And will they require cars?
Well, they will require upgraded cars. Let's say that. So
even more upfitting.
Yeah, more upfitting. We have to put on 2 right now. So we have had 3 canines retire recently, and in fact, we're going to have a retirement party for those 3 canines 2 weeks from today. Right? Yeah. 2 weeks from today. And we have had another canine handler that is leaving, so his canine is gone as well. So we've had 4 canines recently leave the department. We are down to 1 canine. We have to put two canines on right now. Now, this is not going to be a shocker, but we have no budget for canine, even though it's an integral part of the department. For whatever reason, it's not, there's no budget for it. So they're like, well, go raise your money. So we're going to work on changing that, but it's not going to get changed with the county quickly.
The culture is that the community helps support the canine operation.
So here's where we're at. We have to raise $50,000 quickly, $25,000 per canine to get the dogs and get them trained and ready. And so we are going to be embarking officially. How'd you like that? Embarking, man, I didn't even mean to do that. And it worked out. So we are. At
least he's humble about the self-congratulations.
If anybody's worried, he's the king of dad jokes.
Yes. So I love this. We're going to be embarking on a fundraising, effort for new canines, starting officially next 2 weeks from today at the canine retirement party. The newspaper is going to be out there and do an article. We already had a local businessman stop in. He saw it in the paper, and he stopped in and dropped a large check. Said, I just want to do this for the canine. So I want to show you guys, if you guys can see, we're selling T-shirts that say support the paws that enforce the laws. And we have pink T-shirts as well, and they're really, really cute. So I believe we're starting to put this out on social media. Order a T-shirt, order a bunch of T-shirts. This will go to a good cause. So, yeah, 50,000, and we're going to get there. We've got some good supporters and that care about this program.
I have to raise a heartless and yet practical question. So, if an officer, you got $25,000 invested in a dog, and an officer says they're leaving. They take the $25,000 dog with them to another department?
I'll let them talk. They
right,
can explain that. Yep.
So as a former canine handler,
I know you have a relationship with the dog, et cetera.
Correct. I was in canine school with dogs that were what we call recycled. So they were getting new handlers. If the dog is young enough, if there's enough value left to send them back to school, then yes, the dog is recycled. If not, then the dog is given the opportunity to live its life with a handler. And, I had a dog retired to me when I left the city to come to the county. My wife has lost all of her dogs basically working. And so, yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily a wash. I mean,
Right.
the value's still there in the dog if we have another handler. But we also find that those guys rarely leave because that's a passion they have. Most people that get into canine, like my wife, would not be a police officer without canine. That is her passion. So she, it's a draw. Once you get to that position, most of them don't want to leave because they've achieved, that was their goal.
Okay. I know that the question that the audience is going to have, wondering how to fit those pieces together. Right.
So again, the three retired, and there was one that left previous to that at retirement age, and so we only have one that is leaving. That is not. It's the dog is not young enough, and we had this conversation to try to transfer it over to another handler.
Okay. So to preface the last question here before we move on to the department side, to preface that question is, in the campaign you talked a lot about restructuring the budget, needing more details and things. So it's been really interesting tonight to hear that come full circle as you're making more realizations about the budget and the shape that it was in, and just restructuring that. So it's been really interesting for me to hear, and I'm sure other people as they listened through. But have there been any challenges that you have faced since you took office that have been total surprises, like you didn't expect it at all?
Not that other than the financial side of it, I understand operating a business, having employees. So there's not been anything that's been, oh my goodness, I didn't know about this. So
Pigtailing with what Dakota said, there was a discussion about Henry County billing the state for some things as well.
Yeah, we haven't touched on half of the financial stuff. So we are housing. So like we used to send out inmates to other facilities and pay them hundreds of thousands to hold our inmates. We are holding today, I think, 7 DOC, Department of Corrections inmates for them. So that's right now that rate is $37 each person per day. And so, as we were trying to figure out where we are financially, we found out that our department hadn't even billed DOC since February of last year. And so, of course, we get a hold of DOC and they say, well, tough luck. Our budget ends 12/31. You're not getting anything. And so we just didn't bill them. And you add that up, the 37 a day for 7 people right now, that's $8,000 a month. And, whether it was 7 people all the way back then, I don't know. That fluctuates a little bit. But there's a good amount of money there. There's another, we haven't been charging for running emergency transports, and which like EDs, the emergency detentions. We have to take these people to, we're running them all over the place. Crown Point, where we go, there's sometimes we're hours. And by state statute, the county can bill these people's insurance and even bill their state insurance. We have never done that. And I asked the ambulance, an ambulance service that sometimes they run them if it's not a judge signature, and they get $1,500 to take somebody to Options in Indianapolis, which is one of the closer places that we go to. $1,500. We're running transports 100+ a year, and it's growing. Man, we ran like 5 of them the other day. So think about this. If
So
we
that's,
would build
that's some of your shortfall versus other departments is that there's revenue here that's not getting cashed.
We're not cashing in on it because it's a process. It takes some structure, and that's what I'm finding. That's one thing that I'm finding, there's no process, or the structure is just not there. You've got 2 people trying to each do 10 tasks instead of one person taking care of 5 and this person taking care of 5. They're both trying to do the same 10. And so we're trying to streamline the process and have our people know, what is their job description? What duties do you fulfill? And it was interesting to find a lot of people just didn't know, like, I don't know, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do everything. Well, everybody was trying to do everything, and everything wasn't getting done.
this is the problem. He brought up us needing 2 more deputies. It's just not one thing. We're trying a lot of different things, such as addressing the funeral escorts. When you've got 3 officers, there's times we've had 2 merit deputies working, and you have the funeral escorts coming in. You have an emergency detention coming in. You have a serious accident. So we're trying to alleviate that by the funeral escorts having our off-duty guys do that. We're trying to keep from our merit deputies, the full-time guys, from doing the emergency detentions. Our reserve program has really stepped up and helped out with that. And Matt, he's short a detective because when I was in the detective division, and when I moved to chief deputy, we didn't replace that spot because we were short on the road. So he is short a detective, and I will say this: those guys are on call. Our detectives are on call if something happens. Well, most of the last half of the year, we had 3 detectives, so we were on call every 3 weeks. And
explain that further. What that takes.
Well, yeah, you're pretty much confined to the county.
Once every 3 weeks, you're trapped here because you have to be available.
Right.
To investigate.
Trapped, you're at home. You're not going out to El Chili's and drinking a margarita.
Right.
Because anytime you could get a call. Right.
Absolutely. So we need to address the on-call pay, but we also need to get that manpower.
Do you get a premium for that?
Tell them what they get, just so that people will know.
Pull your mic in a little closer, John.
Yeah, tell them how much you get for on calls when you're stuck here. People will be interested to hear.
$1,500 for a year, and it's paid back. So, like my detectives that started, like Kindred this month, he won't see his $1,500 until January of 24, even though he's going to go right into the on call.
They pay it in like a yearly.
Yeah,
sum.
it's in the rear. So if you roll right in, you're going to spend the whole time stuck to within a good distance of the county.
Is that like a local contract decision, or is that like?
I don't know where it came from. I've been here since 2005, and it has not changed since then. So it was just one of those things, because we are requiring them to basically give up on certain things. You know, if you guys call and say, let's go to St. Elmo's, and then, you know, sorry, I'm on call. Like, and that's things 15, we turn down.
$1,500 a year. I just want people to understand.
Correct. Yeah,
$1,500 a year. How many weeks were you stuck here last year? Give me an example for $1,500 bucks.
I will tell you this. This is an example. When I started, there were 7 detectives on call. So you were on call once every 7 weeks. That wasn't too bad. Last summer, me, Josh, and Mark Reese, who's retired and went to another agency, we spent from basically July until the end of the year once every 3 weeks between the 3 of us. We just rotated. You know, I was on call, week off, Josh, then me, and just rotate through. And the other thing is, it's not just being on call, because the on-call detective takes care of like the little fires. When the little fires come in from Nate's division, and, you know, I need help with this, or I just need something little. But when the big things come in, the homicides, the rapes, the child molest, the things that one person can't do, and there's 3 of us, we're all coming in. So it's not that I'm even on call. I just know that if Josh is on call and something big comes in, he's going to call me, and we're gonna do it as a team and come in and help. So the on-call detective is there for just the small things.
A lot that happens behind the scenes that the general public is not aware of. So help paint the picture of what the organization looks like, John. What?
Yeah. So obviously you have the sheriff and then the chief deputy, and Josh, you can. So what we'll do here, you talk a little bit about your duties, and Captain Nate could talk a little bit about his duties, and then Matt, you can talk about yours, and then you talk about the sergeants. You could kind of help finish that off. So yeah. So
Zach. Sorry, because they're not on limiters. Zach's pushing a lot of buttons on the backside today. He's getting 0 extra pay, but has a 10 times harder job.
He's pushing our buttons.
So my goal, obviously, John, being the sheriff, has a vision for our department, and we are in a lot of meetings together because we have to be in tune with each other, and those things. That is something that's just kind of blown me away, is all the meetings. We have had so many meetings, but they're important. They are important.
You're also a month into this role as well. This is
correct.
You're also drinking from the fire hose.
Absolutely. Right. Yes. So it's really just taking his vision and making sure it happens. John's a good guy to get the project rolling, and then it's up to me to make sure that there's follow through. And these guys, Matt and Nate, they're awesome. They are super, because there's no way I could follow through on all of this. But in not only making sure that John's vision comes to fruition, it is also making sure that these guys are taken care of, so they can take care of their officers as well. So that is my goal, is to take care of the sheriff and make sure his vision comes to fruition, and also take care of the road division, Captain Kovacs, and the detective division, Captain Pierce, and also at times put out fires within the jail. Although we've got a great team. Jay Davis, he's our jail commander, and Stacy Guffey's the assistant jail commander. We are very blessed. We're blessed all around, really. We have an outstanding team, and that's how we're getting through this. We got a great team.
All right. So, Nate, tell us about your new role, or your I guess it's the continuation. But what's it look like?
My side is the patrol side. It's the side generally that the public sees with the sheriff's department. My biggest goal is to help maintain that coverage and that workability of the road part of it. Supporting my sergeants. We're on 12-hour shifts. The sergeants, we've got 4 sergeants on the road. They've each got 3 guys. So I work with the sergeants closely to make sure that their guys have what they need, the equipment as best we can, vehicles, cars, and then, like Chief Deputy Smith said, support the sheriff's vision on what he's putting out to us, and we just push it out to them and go that route.
All right. And Mr. Pierce?
I'm the detective of the captain division, or the detective division. I'm the detective of the captain division. Anyway, I'm over the detective division. So basically, everything that needs investigation, whether it be the small crimes all the way up to homicide, that's us. And I have 2 sergeants, 3 total in my division besides myself. And under this administration, at one point, the drug task force had kind of, was oversight. The oversight came from outside of the detective division. I'd spent my first part of my detective career working narcotics, 6 years. So under this administration now, the 2 narcotics officers from our agency that work with Newcastle PDs as well are back under me, and we take care of anything that the road doesn't want.
So who is it that's responsible for running all the plates on the sheriff's department vehicles?
You run your own plate. You look at your plate and you're like, that thing's been expired for a long time. I'm going to check it.
You guys don't have stickers on them, do you? You don't have.
We're supposed to. Well, not 2 different plates.
So we got 2 different plates. We have the ones that you see on the sheriff's cars that are the patrol cars that have all the markings and the lights. They have permanently affixed plates to that VIN. So when a new car comes in, we request a plate or a plate transfer that car, and it's good. Then we have civilian plates on some of our vehicles, and UC plates or undercover plates that we go through the same process. Now, we don't have to pay the state every year any sort of income tax or any sort of fees, but we go through the same process of renewing those, and they issue a sticker, and we put it on the plate and go on.
Those the permanent plates are the brown sheriff plates.
Right.
And then, like you
So those were not expiring. It's the other used vehicles.
Correct. Those are permanently affixed to that vehicle while we have it. So
well, we might be running a plate that was permanently affixed to a car that is in the junkyard now, but we'll find out soon what we're running.
I mean,
Got a lot of administrative catch up.
It seems like it helps the undercover part, though, if you're rolling around on expired plates. Like, this can't be a real police cruiser.
You think you get a little more street cred? Like, I don't have time for plates. I need meth.
I have been, when I was in the detective division, I had been pulled over by a Rush County deputy for having expired plates.
Did you show him your special deputy badge?
What was Mark's car, the Traverse? How long it had been in our inventory and on the road with paper tags? Was it August
Which paper? We kept printing paper tags. Which paper tag you talking about?
May of last year, and it was still up till January this year. Had that.
I think it's on its way now.
It's taken care of now. But we rolled to.
So what's our grace period as regular citizens on having slightly expired
you don't have
tags?
one. There's no grace period.
Moderately expired, or the sticker has been put on the wrong spot of the plate.
You know, my personal opinion on that. If I pull somebody over that's got a 8-month expired or something, we might have a problem with that. But 2, 3 months, 4 months, 5, I don't care. If they're good people, just
that is not every officer's opinion, though. So that's not a.
I work in the detective division. We don't pull people over.
My wife
you didn't pull people over when you didn't work in the detective.
My wife got pulled over because her little sticker wasn't on there, and her license hadn't the plate hadn't expired. It had been renewed, but I forgot to put the little sticker on her license plate.
Boy, that's a bad husband move right there.
Yeah, it was. I heard about it later. The deputy that pulled her over, though, she's like, it's in here. I know that he paid it. And she gave it, and she's like, there's the sticker right there after she got out of her car.
Did he put it on for her?
Yeah, he was like, here, let me put it on for you. I was like, oh,
in the majority of the time, it's not that the officer's looking to give somebody a ticket. That's how you find other crimes that have happened in the county. I mean, it's the minor things. I mean,
just creating a time long enough to let that dog sniff the car and find out what kind of trouble we're in.
That's right. Writing a warning by not scanning it. We're typing in a slow warning, waiting on the dog.
I'm always surprised.
We're gonna wait a long time because we have one.
They pull somebody over
It's
on 70.
unconstitutional.
I'm always surprised when they pull somebody over on 70 that's got like 100 pounds of weed in the car or some drug, and they've got like broken taillights. I'm like,
yeah.
It seems like the taillights would have been a worthwhile investment.
I think Jeremiah on his road trips was getting out and doing a full walk around of his vehicles at one point. I think you said you were going to Nashville and you were concerned that there was a license plate light out.
On the way to my bachelor party, Jeremiah was taking me to Nashville. He made me get out of the car and change the license plate light.
I take preventative maintenance very seriously. I roll around with a car with 220,000 miles on it and take it 1,000 miles from home, but there are no check engine lights on it. Zach and I come from the same school of thought on the PM side.
So you mentioned the sergeants. I know that like you guys are over these departments. How does the sergeant role get broken down?
I could explain it for mine and then he can for his. My sergeants are a little different because we're in a short division. I still take cases, like when cases come in. And I will say it's such a turn it's taken since COVID for us. We do less property crimes and more crimes against people and children. Like it is just the child molest, the child exploitation, the things like that. It seems like since people were stuck in the house together, there's no stop. Like we're called almost daily from the Department of Child Services with another case of neglect or abuse against a child. So my sergeants work those cases as well. When I'm gone, one of them supervises, like when I was gone last couple weeks ago with Captain Kovacs, and they also do the internals. So if we have an internal would be not a violation of, let's say, a law, but we have department SOPs, and you're going to get familiar with those. I'm sure your dad is familiar with those. So if we have an employee, especially a merit employee that may have violated or we've received a complaint, it's usually my sergeants that take care of that. Or if would be a sergeant rank that may have committed, then it would be me. But that way kind of it has a little bit of separation. Okay. So supervising wise, my sergeants have little to do, but they have more tasks that come with it by being a sergeant in the detective division.
The guys on my side, as I said, we've got 4 brackets. So I've got 4 sergeants. Each of those sergeants have 3 guys that are on that shift with them. So they're supervising those 3 guys and maintaining that 4-man shift during their work hours that they work.
Okay. So because you're not working 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm not working 24 hours a day, and I get lots of other little side projects that I get working on. Right. But we're a small enough department that you get 2 guys off. I'm in the mix just the same as everybody else taking calls.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sheriff Sproles, are you still, when you were running for office, you said, I'm still going to be on the road myself as well. Is that still happening or not quite yet?
Well, I've been out several times, and I took somebody from a call because it was near the end of the shift, and I transported somebody to another county. I think, was that yesterday? I don't know. Yeah, it was yesterday. I think.
Yeah,
So,
he showed up to a couple accidents here and there, and
I have to show up so I can get my campaign hat on, and I try to be like the troopers.
running straight to the news crews.
That's right. That's right.
All right, and then the last item Dakota has on the list is to explain the merit board, because I am about to find myself with some exposure to this.
Yes.
Being a non-Republican and non-Democrat, I'm getting myself accidentally appointed
Yes.
to the Henry County Merit Board.
Well, it wasn't accidental. It was
Not accidental on my part.
Yes. No, and I am the one that appointed you because I wanted you to be a part of our team, and so I'm happy to have you aboard on the board. But so the merit board it's 5 people, and the sheriff appoints 3 of them, and per state statute, the sheriff can appoint 2 of the same political party, and he has to appoint at least 1 of a different political party. So that is why to try to maintain the spirit of that law. I did look back at our current board, and it was all one party. And again, that's a violation of state statute. And I understand the reasoning for that. So you can attest to this. I didn't call and quiz you on your stance on marijuana or your stance on anything. I felt like, again, in keeping with the spirit of the state statute and state law, select somebody from a different party. And so here you are, our Libertarian Merit Board member.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
One thing, we weren't totally in violation because the deputies have 2 appointees, and we did have 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. It was the other side that had 3 of the same party.
I think they both, the state statute spells it out that both have to have a separation there.
Correct, and we did.
Yeah, you all did.
On our appointees.
Yeah, right. So, we're excited about this merit board because of the wide range of knowledge and backgrounds, and I like that. I appreciate the different viewpoints. I'm not I don't like just all yes men. I want people to be grounded in there. I want them to be able to explain why they want to do what. But I do appreciate the variety.
And the role of that board they're citizens. They're not law enforcement professionals they're not associated with the department.
That's correct.
And they have oversight over discipline and hiring.
That is correct. Discipline, hiring. They also are involved in promotions. I say they're involved. They have to approve the promotion, rank promotions. It is a paid position. $100,000 a year, or did I look at the zeros wrong?
I'm quite sure that's wrong. If not, we need to you need to make some budget adjustments.
Yes. When I was researching for the episode today, I was like, it is a paid position in the county or in the state of Indiana, and the statute said they must be paid $15 per day that they are on the task. You're working as a merit board.
We do better than that. It's $1,000 a year. I was off on the zero.
Better.
I'm sorry.
There's also a really important function of the merit board that a lot of people don't know, especially is in Indiana, every county has its own retirement funding. Where if you get hired at, say, Newcastle PD, you go into PERF. You go in with all the municipal police and fire. And in Indiana, the way it's set up here is the merit board also is our financial advising board. So they take active role in what investments and where money is moved for the merit deputies' retirements. The guys that are already retired, the guys that are still working, putting money in quarterly, they're involved with the financial company, trying to make those decisions long term so that it's a well-funded program for us to retire.
Very good. Very important. That's once again a lot of responsibility. But I did, I know very little about the law other than what the Constitution tells me. But I do have a bachelor's degree in management in business, so I can barely balance a checkbook. I don't have a checkbook. Dakota, do you actually have a checkbook? You probably do because on the inside you're 73 years old.
I have a checkbook, but it has my parents' address on it.
I remember those days of balancing, writing man, that's been a long time ago. Check your pager. See if you had any page, didn't work on your checkbook.
All right. I think think we're at the point in the show where we do final thoughts. We clean up anything we've forgotten, and we get out of here. We normally go from right to left. So Matt, you are in the hot seat. Is there anything we've forgotten? Is there anything you want to plug as far as funding canines? Anything along those lines that we need to talk about?
No, I think that
You can plug your eBay store if you want to.
I would. I'm not going to put it out there because I will get so many non-paying bidders on my things, and my wife will be very unhappy. No, I would just like to, think that we're going in the right direction now, because for a long time, as a member of this department, and nothing against previous administrations at all, that some of this needed to be brought to light of how we were just doing without or moving money to cover places and, vehicles. This is my fourth sheriff, and vehicles, training. We're working on getting new firearms because our firearms are getting to the point they're outdated. And it's just nice to see a push for the things that we basically need. These aren't extras. These aren't, we're not like, I went to the Academy of people at Carmel that probably have chauffeurs at their police department. These are just the things we need.
You're not talking about getting a third MRAP. You're trying to get updated guns.
We need more tanks, and no, we don't. No, it's not that. It's just the things that we need. And in turn, we provide, coverage to basically everywhere but Newcastle PD and 2 small towns. And if those small towns that have full-time agencies aren't available, that's us. I mean, we cover this entire county. So I look forward to hopefully getting more officers and the funding we need. I'm not talking extra, just what we need. So.
All right. Nate, you have to explain why in a Chrysler town we got Tahoes on the road.
Ask him what kind of car he has right now.
He's had this for like 6 months. So
He's way overdue.
Yeah, I'm way overdue.
Captain has the nicest car on this department by far. But
I managed to fall into it, huh?
You did.
No. I kind of piggyback with what Captain Pierce said. Just keeping the changes are going to keep us competitive and allow us to continue to improve. My biggest fear is that we fall behind or we stay where we are and we start, I want to say, becoming a training ground for officers, but we'll spend the resources to get these guys trained and then we'll lose them to surrounding counties that, you go towards Indianapolis, you start jumping up.
They're at a different scale.
Considerably. And it's not that big a move or a drive for people. So that's where the changes we're making need to happen to keep us competitive. We want to have good quality police officers here. You can see what happens in other areas on the news. Just when you start lowering standards to try and get bodies to fill those positions, you put the community at risk of bad things happening because you're lowering your standards. We need to have that good competitive base, cars, equipment, pay to keep good quality people here.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys being with us. Sheriff? I guess we'll wrap up with Sheriff. You want to go ahead, Josh?
Sure. We just want to be able to take care of our people so they can take care of the people in the community. And, the financial piece, like he was saying, is a big part of that. We've got a young department now, and those guys need train. Captain Pierce is going to have to send. Our homicide team, our major incident team, we've lost 3 of those guys, right, Matt? And
Newcastle and us, of the original team that we had, there's 3 of us left that have basically been to homicide school and or investigated homicides. So everybody else is brand new to this. So we're trying to get them trained.
Yeah. So we need to have the money, and we need to know where it's coming from to be able to fund things like that. There's technology out there that we want to take advantage of. If there's for example, an Amber Alert, there's technology out there that will help us locate children that have been abducted a lot quicker. So we need the funding to do that. It's important stuff, and we want to be able to do the best we can for our community. And but we have to have the money, and we got to get back on track.
One thing that I'm very, very happy about is the commissioners and the council people have reached out and said, look, we want to fund you all. We know that you need more funding. We just want to know where the money's going. And I'm going to be able to take care of them knowing where the money is going by putting more line items in the budget. And I believe they'll follow through and take care of the funding. So I think we're headed in a great direction there. As Josh said, this may sound selfish. I've said it in the campaign. I said it the night of the election. My first responsibility is to take care of our people. We have to take good care of our officers so that they, in turn, can take good care of our citizens. And as Captain Nate mentioned, we have got to stay competitive financially to keep these officers here. Like you said, you go towards Indy, man. The salary just it increases substantially. The salary and the benefits are phenomenal. State police are looking at getting possibly a 50% raise in July. That'll put them starting in the mid 70s and moving north from there. And I am happy for that because it does put some pressure on our community to do better for our officers. And I feel like, again, council and commissioners are willing to do it. I know that our citizens want to take good care of the first responders. So I think if we, paint the path out clearly, where they want to know, listen, it's their money. Yep. They want to know where it's going. So we're going to take care of our people first, and then we're going to take good care of our community.
Well, the skepticism from the public comes from things like the public income tax that was increased for emergency services.
Yes. That
we don't necessarily have concrete things to say, hey, it paid for X, Y, and Z.
Well, we're going to get concrete things to say because we're going to cover that soon. I say soon. It's going to get covered, and it's going to be spelled out. And so people want to stay tuned in. There's a lot of things that are going to get spelled out, and they will probably be some jaw droppers. And we're here to be transparent. I'm not knocking on anybody, okay? But we're here this is the public's department. It's the taxpayers, and they need to see where it's going. And they're going to see, and we are going to do some retrospective look at some of those funds.
You got a fresh set of eyes in a new era.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Dakota, final thoughts?
Just wanted to say thank you guys for coming on. I think this has been a pretty good, informative episode, and it has been really interesting for me to watch, to hear from you, John, from the campaign, and then as you've gotten into the role, and it's been really good to hear for me, especially, and very informative and educational. So, really good. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys very much for being a part of the show. Very, very thoughtful and informative episode. And I think the community's better off for you guys taking the time your Thursday night. I know on somewhat short notice for everybody, so we appreciate you being here with us. Next week, we are scheduled to have Chris May with us, who just recently retired. It's essentially we're having a millennial gap year discussion. Chris was the executive director of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. And he took a sabbatical, essentially, some time off, and he's just now getting ready to start with the Rush County Community Foundation as their executive director. So he's going to join us, and then Bash Kreider is going to sit in with us as well. So really nice show coming up next week as well. Looking forward to that. With that, we say thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next Thursday.